Niners faithful? It's Juju. It's Jose. It's 49 Reasons to Listen. Go ahead and subscribe to that channel because it's 49 Reasons to Listen, but there's a ton more reasons to subscribe. But is there any good reason why the Niners would trade 3 first-round picks for Mac Jones? Because according to Peter Schrager, according to Mel Kiper Jr., according to Chris Sims and various other news sources, Mac Jones is the pick at 3, Jose. Is that true? Can I believe my eyes in this situation, my eyes and ears?
I don't know if you guys remember me saying that whenever we actually reacted first to the Niners trading to get that number 3 pick, saying that I actually love the aggressiveness of John Lynch going out and get that 3rd round pick. I love it a little bit less now that I'm hearing that it could possibly be for Mac Jones. I don't think you needed to get that aggressive to get Mac Jones. Sure, Mac Jones had a hell of a year at Alabama, but so does every Alabama quarterback, it seems like, especially since Nick Saban got there. And how many of them have been successful in the NFL? Goose egg, 0, none. Is Mac Jones the exception? Everything that we've seen from him is not really leading up to that. So I pray that they did not give up all those assets just to go ahead and get Mac Jones when really he's probably going to be there at 12.
Yeah, and that's the thing. If the Niners don't select him at 3, I could see Mac Jones not just 12. I could see him 15. I could see him in the 20s. The type of talent that Mac Jones is, and this is not to say that he's a bum. I'm sure he's going to be a very good quarterback to average quarterback. But that's not what you draft at 3. We did that. We drafted Solomon Thomas at 3. And look how well that turned out for us. You're going for elite prospects. You're going for blue chippers. You're going for guys that will wear a gold jacket in Canton one day. You're not going for, oh, yeah, no, he had a couple of solid seasons for us. Yeah, you know, solid starter in the league for about 5 to 10 years. Then he had a backup role for the following 5. No, we're not going for Andy Dalton. We're not going for Joe Flacco here. I mean, I guess you could say Joe Flacco won a Super Bowl, but against our Niners, but whatever. Too soon. Anyway, we're not going for that here, guys. That can't be the draft plan, and I refuse to believe it is, because if it is, then it just goes against basic value in a draft. Like, if the Niners really wanted Mac Jones, you could have traded up to 6. You didn't have to go all the way to number 3 overall. Did you really think that the Patriots were going to go to 3 for Mac Jones? Did you think the Washington football team was going to go 3 for Mac Jones? Who did you think was going to jump up to that spot if you still think the Mac Jones is the guy? It's like the same argument I used against the Giants when they selected Daniel Jones at number 6 a couple years ago. And I have to stay consistent and talk about my Niners when they're doing it now.
Right. And you also mentioned there's other, it just always seems to not work when you're giving up this much value. Let's not forget, they gave a lot of picks for this specific, just for this one draft pick that the Dolphins had. I never really agree to it. Sometimes it is cool to be aggressive. Like I mentioned in the video before, I like the aggressiveness, but I don't like it if it's just for Mac Jones. Sure, he probably, if it went for Devontae Smith, he might have won the Heisman. But just because he would have this great year at Alabama, there's not really an upside. You know what's possibly his upside? Jimmy Garoppolo. If he turns out to be Jimmy Garoppolo, the guy over succeeded what he could possibly be as an NFL quarterback. And problem is, we have Jimmy Garoppolo. We already have that.
You want to know what his downside is? Southern CJ Beathard. That's what his downside is. Southern CJ.
CJ Beathard won a couple games for the Niners.
Yeah, a couple games. Yeah, that's going to make me sleep well at night, Jose. A couple games. Woo!
I
saw that in Dallas. I got to see them eat that out in Dallas with Nick Mullins doing the ball. I don't want just a guy. I don't need a jag at quarterback. I need the guy. That's what I expected at number 3. Yeah. You know, at least I would say about Jimmy, he feels like more of the guy than Mac feels the guy, you know?
I'm still with Jimmy Garoppolo being the guy, but that'll be after the draft. We'll talk about all of that after we pick a quarterback next week, by the way. But I just don't, what do you think? Do you really believe a lot of these talks because it's been a lot of people saying the Niners are picking Mac Jones. And usually when you hear, especially on like those first three picks, the media is hardly ever wrong.
Yeah, and I think that it's gotten to the point where the Niners have essentially been on the clock for weeks now because Trevor Lawrence has been, of course, just drilled in at number one for the longest time, for basically 3 years now. And Zach Wilson has been solidified equally at number two for essentially the last 2 months. At this point, there's been so much focus on what the Niners would do. But at the same time, I always go back to think about what the Niners are as an organization, or at least what they have been since Kyle and John have gone in there. And they've been an organization that hasn't allowed too many leaks to get by. They haven't allowed just like who they like to just get out there immediately. Like I didn't expect, for example, the Solomon Thomas pick to happen when it did, Buckner to happen, the Jimmy Garoppolo trade. That was actually a lot of argument Rich Eisen was using in his little monologue today, talking about what he thinks they would do with that pick. He's a Trey Lance guy. I guess I got to be a little bit consistent about where I am too on the topic. I said that I believe on the Slump Buster podcast, by the way, go ahead and check it out. That Trey Lance is our guy at 3. I thought about it a lot. And although I do like Justin Fields, and if you told me Justin Fields was the pick at 3 too, I wouldn't shed a tear at all. But Trey Lance, I feel fits that timeline really well. Of course, if we do have Jimmy, we have committed Jimmy for another year, then you would say, let's get a developmental guy. Let's get a guy with a very high ceiling and someone that Kyle can feel comfortable with. And I think Kyle can really rally behind a guy that has smart decision making, because Trey Lance, he had that one crazy year where he didn't throw a single interception. He didn't throw that many times in the games, but he didn't throw a single interception. So I think that stands for something. He's very mobile, ran a lot of like his offense from behind center. I think there's just so much to like there. And I feel as though you don't trade up to 3 for Kirk Cousins. You don't do it.
Right.
Kyle might, but
Kyle might. I mean, he loves Kirk Cousins for some reason from their time in Washington. But why not just go ahead and trade that pick for Kirk Cousins? Kidding, by the way. But no, I actually like the Trey Lance pick. I know I kind of wasn't the nicest person to Justin Fields in our last video about him, but now hearing that it could be possibly Mac Jones, I would love if they just drafted Justin Fields instead of Mac Jones at this point. But you mentioned with Trey Lance, I think Kyle Shanahan loves the idea of him being able to mold his own type of quarterback. You mentioned it. He's a type of raw talent where his mechanics, aren't really established yet. I mean, he could really, if when you're talking about the quarterback position, how he throws the ball is super important. Zach Wilson, I mean, he's going to be gone, but he has his way of throwing the ball. Justin Fields has his way of throwing the ball. Jimmy Garoppolo has his way of throwing the ball. You can't really change that at this point of their careers. Trey Lance, he's kind of an anomaly when it comes to that. You could kind of mold him to be what you want. And I think Kyle Shanahan likes that. So I do also have put a lot of chips on the table saying that they're going to draft Trey Lance as well. But these Mac Jones talks just scare me a lot, just like I was mentioning. A lot of these reports, a lot of times they're right, guys. But like you mentioned, I am confident because the Niners, like you mentioned, they're a lip seal type of organization when it comes to their moves behind the scenes. You mentioned another example would be Trent Williams. We didn't know they were going to go out and get the best left tackle in the league, and they went and did. So I'm hoping, almost praying at this point that it is Trey Lance or Justin Fields, just because it's all about the upside, guys. If they don't look like they're going to be good NFL quarterbacks in their college career, then it's just probably not going to happen once they actually get to the league.
I guess that's the problem, though. Like Mac Jones probably did look like he would be he could be a good quarterback. No one's saying that. It's just, again, we're talking about the number 3 spot here. That's not the type of guy you draft at 3. You don't draft good at 3. You draft great. You draft the guy that's, again, can be in canon one day. And I just have a hard time seeing it. And I think, too, there is a little bit of recency bias, to be fair. Seeing what Tua did coming out last year, was not impressed. When you just look at Alabama's team, Jalen Waddle, Devontae Smith, Jerry Jeudy, Najee Harris, Henry Ruggs III, this is just an absolute all-star, phenomenal team. And it's easy to see why any quarterback could have success there. And when I hear stuff too, like Mac is just having like plenty of success with yards after catch and everything, like, you know what, if we're really just hammering on Jimmy for that, then what are we really doing? We're just making a lateral move. I'm not about making lateral moves. This is a big year for Kyle. This is a huge year for Kyle. If they don't make it to the playoffs this year, I would even dare to say that I think Kyle's seat's going to get a little warm. You know, I don't care about
it'll get warm.
I don't care about the extension at that point. We've seen coaches get big time extensions and then get cut the following season. And even though I know that Jed York made a commitment to Kyle, made a commitment to Lynch, if they finish again outside the playoffs, have another bad year, you're going to tell me that Jed's going to be content to just stand pat? He didn't even want to do that with Harbaugh, going consistently to NFC Championship games. Yeah.
And if you do have a bad year, you're going to rely on Mac Jones to recover everything, to be your savior. A second-year Mac Jones, I mean, that's just that's playing with fire. That's playing with fire.
It doesn't even feel like the right fit, too, in the sense of talking about, too, even like if you do keep Jimmy on this roster, Mac doesn't feel like the type of guy that needs to sit a year, you know? Mm-hmm. He feels like the type of guy that you would, in theory, throw out there at some point during the season. Maybe not week 1, but maybe week 6. But I feel as though that doesn't vibe with me unless Jimmy gets hurt this year or Jimmy's not on the roster. Both scenarios, I'm obviously not signing up for the hurt one. I prefer to see Jimmy just on the field because this team goes when he's out there. But yeah, with that said, you know, like I said, I think Trey Lance is my guy. Trey Lance is the pick in my book. I hope I'm wrong, but I hope I'm right. But at the same time, it just, you look at the names here. Peter Schrager, he's over there running the state of the franchise stuff for the San Francisco 49ers. So it's not like he's a nobody when it comes to the organization. Adam Schefter literally talks to everyone. Chris Sims is basically one of Kyle Shanahan's best friends. So it's just like these sources, they're not nobody. But at the same time, you would think, can the Niners be perfectly planned, throwing those seeds into people's minds that try and get it? But who are they trying to fool at 3?
Us.
Yeah.
They're fooling us.
It's just one big plan to fuck with the faithful, basically. Mm-hmm. All right. Well, go. Anyway, guys, let us know. How are you feeling about this one? Do you think that Mac Jones is truly going to be the guy, the name announced by Roger Goodell 1 week from today? Let us know in the comments. Are you more a Justin Fields person? Are you more a Trey Lance person? I also want to know the answers to that. Leave a like on this video. And of course, subscribe to our channel. Plenty more Niners content come in. Plenty more reactions come in. Check out our most recent video where we give a little bit of a homage to Alex Smith, his best game as a Niner. We review it for you guys. Hope you enjoy. We'll see you next time.